Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Hannibal reaction video. Today I'm going to be watching, reviewing, and reacting to Season 3, Episode 10 of Hannibal. Alright, and we are continuing on with the Red Dragon storyline, but before we get into the episode, just a quick reminder to everybody on YouTube, this is. If you are interested in getting early access to videos of Hannibal and all of my series, or full-length versions, full-length reactions to all episodes of Hannibal, please do consider checking out my Patreon. And if you're just interested in supporting the channel, which would be very appreciated, again, consider checking out my Patreon, or also if you look below this video, there's a join button. You could become a member through YouTube as well if you just want to throw, say, a couple bucks per month my way to just support the channel. I'm starting to kind of try and promote this, put this out there more again lately, even though I haven't really openly talked about it in videos as much, honestly, for like over a year or more. Because of the fact that the YouTube algorithm seemingly has changed, and as some of you guys know, every single reaction video I am posting on YouTube is immediately getting blocked. And I am disputing those blocks, and typically, pretty much most of the videos are eventually getting unblocked when the copyright holder has a chance to look at it, but it's taking sometimes up to 2 weeks, which means that things fall behind dramatically. And then on top of that, when they do get unblocked, so you guys can at least view them on YouTube, what happens is none of them are monetized. So they're agreeing to unblock the videos, but not agreeing to allow me to monetize the videos. So there's zero ad revenue coming in, and there's huge delays in the time of posting. So this has been a very frustrating time for me, especially with the world being what it is and needing kind of the finances. So if you are somebody that just enjoys my content and you would like to continue to see me be able to regularly create content for YouTube, I would really appreciate any support you could give. Please do consider being a member here or coming to my Patreon. And oh my god, do you guys see there's a kitten back there on that top shelf? Merlin, no! Alright, one second. Okay, we're back. Who knows how long it'll be before there's another cat or kitten crisis. Life with kittens. You guys see I have my She-Ra figure up there, and Merlin has decided that he likes that one and wants to pull it down. So this is not the first time this has happened. I'm sure it won't be the last time it happens. But anyway, let's get into the episode now. Let's get back to Hannibal and back to Red Dragon. Alright, so episode 10.
I think of them as unfair reviews.
Unfair reviews. So he's now picturing himself.
They like to sling demeaning nicknames, don't they? Tooth Fairy. What could be more inappropriate? It would shame me for you to see that. If I didn't know that you have suffered the same distortions in the press.
So is he imagining himself without the lisp?
It's not a good picture of you. Your speech is bent and pruned by disabilities. Real and imagined, but your words are startling. I want to be recognized by you.
And then it's back.
As John the Baptist recognized the one who came after. I want to sit before you as the dragon sat before 666 in Revelation. I have.
Another reference to Hannibal as the devil.
I would love to show it. Someday, if circumstances permit, I would like to meet you and watch you
Merlin.
meld with the strength of the dragon. See how magnificent you are.
Merlin, I'm trying to watch this. Oh god, his brother's coming.
Did he who made the land make thee?
you been to see him?
Yes.
You haven't learned your lesson, have you?
No, he hasn't.
Or did you just miss him that much?
I mean, there's also that, yes. The answer to both of those questions is you know.
You been to see him?
No.
I've seen enough of him.
Yes, she has seen the devil and has the
I was
correct
behind the veil.
response. Well,
We're always on the other side.
interesting. That's interesting.
Something we should talk about.
She's like,
We'll
so
have to make an appointment.
you kind of understand, Will, you know what he is. But he always, even when he was talking about killing and trying to make you into a killer, you didn't see what she saw. That's interesting.
Radiant.
Alright, that's an interesting visual. So they had him describe the colors in that way, and then they made it look that way for us. Wow. That's cool.
Really had a terrific time, dude.
Me too.
But I need to go home now.
Yes. Good. I'll take you now.
And just how he just wants to protect her from the dragon, which is him, but not him, a part of him, but also outside of him. Oh,
That's not to suggest I don't have good reason to be.
You don't trust Dr. Lecter?
There's something wrong with Dr. Lecter.
there is.
Did you think that way before he ended the doctor-patient relationship?
And that's why he ended it. He knew I knew. I went to him mildly depressed.
Saw through
had
it.
trouble sleeping. I ended up wildly depressed, not sleeping at all.
You believe your condition worsened under Dr. Lecter's care?
I'm sure it did.
Care. He told me to eat more red meat and wrote a prescription.
Is your wife aware of how intimately you and Hannibal know each other?
She's aware enough.
I'm sure she's not fully aware, or else she probably would not have pushed you to
Save
come.
Hannibal. Do you think you can save this new one? Your experience of Hannibal's attention is so profoundly harmful,
Yes,
yet so irresistible.
like the devil.
It undermines your ability to think rationally.
I am thinking rationally.
Confused.
You know, whatever this is, this is why Scientologists hate psychiatry.
What do you think this is?
Yeah, of course he would refer me to you. You're just as twisted as he is.
Maybe that's why Hannibal liked her.
You're walking down the street, and you see a wounded bird in the grass. What's your first thought?
It's vulnerable. I want to help it.
Like all the dogs that he takes in.
My
Like
first
my
thought
kitties.
is also that it's vulnerable. And yet, I want to crush it.
Okay, that's fucked up, Bedelia.
A primal rejection of weakness, which is every
That's
bit
fucked
as
up.
natural as the nurturing instinct.
Is it? Oh my god! That is gross! Oh god! Oh, God!
Alchemy of lies and truths. It's how he convinced you you're a killer.
You're not convinced.
No.
You're not a killer.
Exactly. Thank you.
You are capable of righteous violence because you are compassionate.
How are you capable?
That's interesting.
Extreme acts of cruelty require a high level of empathy. The next time you have an instinct to help someone, you might consider crushing them instead.
Huh.
It might save you a great deal of trouble.
Here you're with William Blake's The Great Red Dragon and the Woman Clothed in Sun. Blake's dragon stands over a pleading woman caught in the coil of its tail. Few images in Western art radiate such a unique and nightmarish charge of demonic sexuality. As the dragon grows in strength and glory, there are families to come. I have to believe there is a common factor, and we will find it soon. Otherwise, you have to enter more houses and see what the dragon has left for you. 11 days to the next full moon. I like this dragon, Will. I don't think he's crazy at all. I
No.
think he might be
He has straight up
quite
psychosis.
sane.
No. Oh, the reflection.
A magnificent thing. To watch the world through his red haze.
No, he has psychosis. I just wonder for people that didn't know the source material, what do you... Is still here cuddling. So I'm sorry guys for, first of all, I'm just gonna say I'm sorry for all of the insanity. For those of you only watching the shorter version, you may or may not end up seeing some of this, but the kittens, Marlon and Figaro, were absolutely insane throughout this whole video, knocking stuff over, like pulling on cables, pulling on the lights, pulling on, like, knocking down Melina, tried to knock down She-Ra, jumping up on top of shelves, and to the point that eventually I had to straight up put them out of the room. And then Binksy here came along, and he just wanted to cuddle, so at least there's that, but sometimes they're crazy in the morning, so sorry about that, and the chaos sometimes. So, right, Binksy? Yes, Binksy, good boy. So it's interesting. We continue to see that the Dollarhide storyline, at least when it comes to like what he does and what everything with Reba and what he's doing, you know, not necessarily in relation to say Will, but his personal life, his storyline is sticking extremely close to the source material. It's not entirely, but very close to being one-on-one straight up adaptation. And I think it's good in some ways that they're doing that because I think it was a really good storyline. I like the way that they did the tiger scene here, where he described the colors as kind of melting into the air, and then they actually made that happen visually for us. I liked that. I like they added in the, you know, his vision of Reba as becoming the woman cloaked in sun, so that was very cool to see. I do wonder, for people that didn't know the source material of Red Dragon, what some of their thoughts would be about him as a character, and then, how they're focusing so much on this relationship he forms with this woman during this process of him killing people, and then, of course, that him going in and eating the painting. So that we know from what we see, it's clearly that he's trying to stop himself. He's gone through this whole process of trying to become the Red Dragon and killing people, literally slaughtering families, and it's part of his becoming. And, he contacts Hannibal. He talks about how he wants Hannibal to know him, to see him, and he has this amazing kind of vision of him as the dragon, showing himself before Hannibal, which is another very cool visual scene. But then when he has an opportunity to get past his own insecurities and his fears, because he's with a woman who literally can't see him, and she doesn't want to approach him with any sort of pity or uncertainty, so he's able to kind of get past his insecurities and the trauma associated with them from his grandmother, he's able to make this connection. And like almost instantaneously, when he's able to make this actual connection with another human being, he finds himself like wanting to protect her from the dragon inside him, from the dragon that he sees as sort of dualistically inside him and outside of him. And he, to the point that he wants to stop this whole process that has been what his entire life has been about. Basically, he wants to stop it just to have this human connection. And that's one of the things I always found so interesting about the Dollarhide, the Red Dragon storyline, is that, he's not like Hannibal. He's someone who becomes this monstrous murderer as a consequence of a combination of his personal childhood trauma and literal psychosis, where he hallucinates things. He hallucinates this monster in his mind, telling him to become this and do these things. But where you have to wonder, if he had received, affection in his childhood, as opposed to constantly being shamed and brutalized, and if he had, been with someone who could give him encouragement and then also treatment if his mental health issues still came along and were triggered, maybe he never would have gone down this path. Maybe he would not be destined for this sort of thing. Which of course makes him, again, very different from Hannibal. And speaking of Hannibal, I really like, and I've talked about this a variety of times throughout the course of the show, but I mentioned it a couple times in this video in particular, how much they're playing up, especially in these last couple episodes, the idea of Hannibal as literally as the devil. He is the devil figure. I talked about him as one of the devils on Will's shoulders, but that's what he is, kind of like his joyful evil that he has, and that he's not just, not just killing, not just taking lives, not just being driven to do this thing, but he has this kind of way of wanting to corrupt, to draw others into that world, to drag them down into a hell, as kind of Bedelia was talking about, to have them be swallowed whole by it. And I just think that's fantastic. It's like a perfect symbolism, a way of depicting him, because he can't be depicted as just like a typical, psychopath or a killer. They frequently talk about how there's no categorization for what he actually is. He's not insane. He's not just a psychopathic killer. He's something else. And the devil is just a great way of describing him. So I liked that. Bye, Binksy. I also really loved this episode, all the stuff with Will and Bedelia, I have to say. It was pretty fucked up seeing what it was that she actually did with her patient. The idea that, we've always had this idea that the patient attacked her, and that the patient was sent in to attack her by Hannibal, was like kind of geared up for that. And so that she was kind of manipulated by Hannibal and into killing, partially in that way by having to defend herself, but also not fully having to defend herself. There was something else going on there. And now we see it's not even that clear cut. She really didn't need to defend herself, except for, you know, maybe defend herself, I guess, psychologically or professionally, in the sense that the patient was straight up saying, you know, you and Hannibal, this is like some culty weird shit. You're just as fucked up as he is. I know he was manipulating me to make me worse. And he's right. That's what Hannibal would do. And it seems like, you know, he talked about how he supposedly had swallowed his tongue before, and then he did it again here. And you have to think that Hannibal kind of tried to trigger that to put him in the position of being vulnerable, so then Bedelia would have a choice of what to do with this wounded, fucked up creature that had been kind of threatening her, or at least threatening her sense of self, and that she would be put in the position that she described to Will of, are you gonna save it, or are you gonna crush it? And lo and behold, she fucking crushed it. And Hannibal, again, his way of dragging people down. But I do think it's interesting, and one of the things I loved this episode, thank you, Bedelia, for saying what I have been saying for so long, that Will is not a killer, despite what Will maybe felt himself or was convinced to think, despite what Hannibal wants. Will is not what Hannibal is. Will is not what even, you know, Bedelia kind of is. Will is not even what, to some extent, Abigail could have been or was. You know, he was able to be convinced that he was like Hannibal and that that's who he is. But it was something else. And she was able to touch on it in such an interesting way. I loved what you said, is that because of the level of compassion and empathy that you have, you are capable of an intense kind of violence, but like a righteous violence. So, and if you think back to the times that Will was kind of like pushed or tempted to want to kill people, it was all someone that he saw as a horribly fucked up person who he kind of felt deserved it, right? And then he would come into the idea that he was a killer too, kind of like Hannibal. But not really, because Hannibal's idea of who deserves it or who not, you know, anyone could deserve it if Hannibal chooses, because people are pigs. They have no meaning or purpose to him besides his own games and manipulations. And there's some who, you know, he feels deserve it more because they're rude, and things that he values. But for Will, the people that he was pushed to try and want to kill were, you know, killers, mostly. People who killed others, who hurt others, who did terrible things to others. And that's that kind of righteous violence. And that's not the same as what Hannibal is. But Will is someone that could be convinced to see himself in that way. And I think that's just, I love the way that she differentiated between them there. It's like what I've kind of been trying to find the words to describe, and she had put it so perfectly. So I loved that. I was thrilled with that. So I really enjoyed this episode. I'm hoping that everything is clear for you guys right now, because my camera seems to be kind of doing its little freeze up thing. So I'm hoping that there's no problem here. But because of that, I'm going to wrap this up here. Very excited to see the rest of this season. There's just a couple episodes left and then the show is done, which is super sad to me, but I'm loving the ride. I'm so glad for that Bedelia scene. So, all right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye.